Ladies and gentlemen, the Middle East war that has caused oil shortages is now turning into an oil shock that's hitting many countries and resulting in countrywide oil shortages already. Now, this could lead on more to panic, economic recession, stock market crashes. So let's just watch on and see what is the state we are in right now, and I'll give you my scenario planning. Today's talk is to share everybody that signs of oil shortages are now emerging in countries, and this is very serious given that many countries are heavily dependent on the Middle Eastern oil. And once you run short of oil, it spreads out towards the whole economy. Everybody needs oil. Every businesses need oil directly or indirectly. So this is getting more serious right now. So we now know that the world's most dangerous energy choke point, which is the Straits of Hormuz, is now being choked. No ships, no tankers can pass through it. There are talks that not just the Iranian military is prepared to shoot down oil tankers, there are even sea mines now being laid, and we don't know what the extent of all this thing is. We also know that many insurance companies refuse and stop insuring all these oil tankers. So as a result, we have a situation where there are no ships that dare to sail past, especially the oil tankers. So this is now a global fuel crisis that is now spreading out across the world and hit especially hard on Asia. So Iran is very clear right now. I'm not going to negotiate with people that are not trustworthy. The last time I negotiated with them, 2 times they attacked me. So this is suddenly the tables being turned, and they now have the cards. They now know that Trump is scared of them. The Israelis who listen to Trump is also scared of them. So now they're going to play this card really well and use this card against their enemies and turn around a situation that living under oppression from US for the last 40 years. So this is now how they're going to play hardball. So they are basically not interested in negotiating for reopening of the Straits of Hormuz until three things are being met. Number one, America get out of the Middle East totally. Number two, lift all the sanctions totally. Number three, repatriations for all the damage that's caused, and even possibly they are even thinking of repatriation for all the economic damage that they have caused from all the sanction, right? These kind of terms, I don't know. Trump is unpredictable. I don't even think Trump, with his ability, will flip to that far. So right now, it's very clear that it's very difficult to meet these terms. Even if the Americans were to get out right now from this war and stop attacking them, I don't think they will give in all these 3 points, any one of them. So it's hard to say whether this war will continue and this oil crisis will be turning for in whatever direction. Now, Washington already showed that they're chickening out and they have made an uncomfortable U-turn. So the Trump administration, in short, just Trump himself, okay, is temporarily lifting all the sanctions on Iranian oil so that allies can buy the Iranian oil. Isn't this just giving in to the enemies? So they have allowed about 140 million barrels to be injected in the global oil economy so that they will ease some of the pressures, and hopefully some of this will be redirected to countries that have shortages such as Vietnam, Thailand, Laos, and so on. But clearly you are funding the enemy, right? So the enemy, with this money that they're getting, they could use to buy more weapons to fight them. What a contradiction, right? I don't understand this logic. I mean, I may not be presidential caliber, but at least I know that in a time of a conflict, I don't try to help my enemy, right? So now 140 million barrels is roughly 1.5 days of global oil consumption. So you release 140 million barrels in 2 days, this thing is over. So even if you release this globally, it's not going to help a lot. So I don't think that this is going to be mattering much in the world of global oil shortages right now. Incidentally, a breaking news just came out. Ministers across the world, I think especially in Europe, grouping together to see what they can do to now start thinking of plans to ration oil, petrol, diesel, and so on. That's quite serious, right? We're even seeing countries now turning to coal. And I think if they turn to coal, one of the countries that produces coal a lot is Indonesia. Maybe Indonesia will have a sudden windfall. But the problem with coal is that it's very bad for the environment. But right now, I don't think anybody is thinking about the environment right now. So this operation to Trump is called epic fury. Such a grand term. But I think it looks more like an epic failure. So oil prices is going up, and oil prices, in terms of petrol prices, diesel prices are also shooting up significantly. Even in Malaysia, with very cheap oil, I also see it going up significantly. And the only thing that is helping Malaysian right now is the subsidized 95 RON petrol, still at 199 ringgit. Well, I think that this is quite serious. I'm not too sure the Malaysian government can hold this for too long because this is a huge subsidy that they have to pay for. Now, which countries are running out of energy? Well, right now, Thailand is having a serious problem. Laos is having a serious problem. And there are some other countries that are showing signs of it. They still have reserve, but not for very long. So let's take a look at who these countries are. But I do know that China, surprisingly being a big consumer market, has huge reserves of oil. I think they can last for very long. Japan as well can last for very long. Uh, I was even told that even countries like Bangladesh can hold for very long, but not so much countries like Philippines, Thailand, Myanmar, Vietnam, and so on. They're going to hit really badly. We get conflicting report from Forbes that says that Singapore only got 40 days of energy left, but our minister came and said we got months left. So I tend to trust our ministers a lot more. Laos, is no longer at risk. It is already suffering the shortages. So 40% of their gas stations have been closed. That's quite serious, right? Almost half the country's gas stations are closed. Diesel price rose by 50%. And we were told that, their fuel lifespan is 1 day or less than 1 day left and things like that. Incidentally, Laos get their fuel supply from Thailand. So, because Thailand now is also having trouble, so right now I think the downstream won't be able to get it. So this is quite a serious problem in Laos. Thailand, wow, shortages is already emerging. So Thailand right now, so-called the official numbers still have quite a lot of oil left in their reserve, but strangely, signs of shortages are showing very significantly. At the airport, taxis are now being hit. So the Bangkok airport taxis shortages is now showing, and less than half of the taxis are in service right now. And this is quite serious. A lot of them are now rejecting long distance travel. If just in case halfway they run out of fuel, they need to resub their fuel, and the supply is not there. So these are signs of serious shortages in Thailand already. So who will crack next? Wow, countries like Myanmar, Vietnam, Philippines, and so on. I don't know who is next, but I think that there is some serious shortages that are coming. And when countries turn desperate, what do? Number one, they will try to jack up more price, demand, pay more for the fuel. But I'm not too sure that will help. At the very least, their people will get angry. And when they get angry, who they get angry with? Do they get angry with the Iranians, or do they get angry with their politicians? That's what I fear most. Now, I think it's important for us to know that oil is just the first order. Oil has spillover effect to many parts of the economy. The more immediate one is food costs will go up a lot because fertilizers cost is being hit. Middle East export a lot of fertilizers. I was told they even export a lot of helium to the rest of the world. I don't know what helium is being used for, but apparently helium is used for things like semiconductors and things like that. So that's also another shortage. Aviation shock is serious right now. I just have a friend that came from France to Singapore, and he took not Singapore Airline, he took France Airline, and guess what? One economy class ticket costs about 3,300 euros, okay, to Singapore. So you multiply by about 1.5 or so, that's almost $5,000 Sing just to fly from Europe to Singapore in economy class. That's very serious, right? So aviation shock is now happening throughout the world. And as a result, tourism will get hit as well. So I think that we'll see a lot less tourists coming across the world because air tickets are just too expensive. Now, I don't know whether Singapore will get hit in terms of tourism, but I think that is already being felt in terms of higher air ticket prices. Now, what will happen next if the Straits of Hormuz remains choked? I will try to work out a few scenarios for you. Now, this is not something I can just walk through with you very easily. I will also take reference from 1973 oil crisis where there was an embargo, very similar to what we have right now, and see what happens to the rest of the world. I think I'll do that in a live stream tonight, possibly my same time around 11 p.m. And we analyze what's the worst case scenario that can happen. I didn't say that it will happen, okay? But there is a possible scenario where Donald Trump just suddenly say, okay, I don't want to fight anymore. Iran, whatever you want, I give it to you. World now turn to a better place. Oil goes through. Okay. Some people say, Mr. Lu, you are always talking about worst case scenario. Let me give you the best case scenario right now. Do you really think it will happen? Maybe you do. I'm not so optimistic. Well, there could be in between where the best case and the worst case, you pick some of them. I think it's best that we take a look at some history and prepare ourselves for possibilities so that in case we are hit, we're not so bad. So, but we are also ready for a sharp rebound, for example, just in case things suddenly turn and the world suddenly become a better place, right? Anything can happen with President Asiao doing all these strange, unusual flips that even his own people are confused. My guess is even himself is confused. So let's watch on, shall we? I'll see you tonight in the live stream at around 11 p.m. Bye bye.